stopping that from happening naturally will mean that we've got space to sort of reassert or reserve it somewhere else.
Maybe breathing, for example.
Like if you wanted to take away your eyesight, you could, but you couldn't necessarily say, I'm going to take away my eyesight so I can have the ability to fly. Like it doesn't work that way.
No, but you could take away your need to breathe, and therefore you could go underwater without fear of drowning, or go into space if we take away the need to warm, or whatever we want to use as an example. There are practical applications, and back to the point before about whether we should know everything, and then whether it's appropriate for people to know everything.
Because we'll never know everything, it means we shouldn't stop though, because we still got to go. We've got to step in.
Yeah.
We've got to step into the ring and go for it anyway.
Exactly.
Then we go back to Steve Jobs. He created a technology that allowed us to communicate across the planet. Now, that's not a natural biology. This is exactly what I'm saying about removing the ability to breathe. We've actually given the ability to speak across half a globe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is a fight against abstraction because that's not what the intelligence is originally designed for us. Now, that's a practical application. Like, we can fly across the world because we make these metal planes that take us to the other side of the planet. That's not natural.
Then brings us back to the perception. So we're perceiving ourselves as flying over. Well, so it's still limited by human perception.
Okay, all right. There's also one thing I want to finish up with. One thing.
Okay. I mean, I'll say it after Suranga is done, but I'll talk to Ian on this.
One more thing. Stephen Hawking, he wrote a book with a blink. It's more the blink of an eye, right? Yeah. He wrote a book with a blink of an eye. That's a classic example of how much we have on the decision-making process, right? If you take that analogy, right, because the role we have in this natural process is that much. With the blink of an eye, you just switch directions. That's all you can do. And if you have that perception in our understanding, that's perfect, I reckon.
So, yeah. Okay, Suranga, let's take it back to the Ian, okay? so, no doubt, right. So all these applications we are looking at, for example, our flights, our transportation capabilities, the scientists, they have been studying the birds, the different birds, and that is how they are replicating their different. They are, for example, there is hummingbird, right? She or it kind of makes this kind of floats its wings in a second 300 to 400 times. And they are actually in USA, they are trying to replicate this intelligence, which is already in place, to develop such an aircraft which can copy, replicate that degree of precision. So the point is that whatever you're learning from, whatever applications you're creating, at the end you're referring to an intelligence which is already in place in the nature. So, I mean, this is the point. Steve Jobs did great. There are a lot of great people in different nations and cultures. They have been developing different applications, and definitely talking across the globe is a great achievement for humanity. And that is definitely against or maybe banned upon existing intelligence in the nature. For example, we are actually utilizing the waves. We are utilizing the mediums which is already in existence. That is also an expression of an abstraction of a certain intelligence. So at the end, that's great that human mind is walking, transitioning, and kind of climbing up ladders in this intelligence and its transition. At the end, you are banking upon what is in existence, and that is a form of abstraction and a form of intelligence which is in play. So there is definitely, I would like to clarify it. There is no fight. It's all great. However, for me, the fascinating thing is how much access we have. A child gets birth. Its limbs, they forms in the womb of the mother. An intelligence which is actually doing it. The mother is unknown to it. Nobody is aware of it. People can see in CT scan and ultrasounds. But the transition, that intelligence which is forming that body, it is a form of abstraction which is not accessible.
Mysticism or metaphysics come in play because once you get to a point where we can't see it with our own eyes, can't measure it, then you have to attach a myth or a metaphor or something which is abstract in itself, because it's the only term you can then use to describe something. So, for example, when it comes to, say, childbirth, or just life in general, like things growing and multiplying. Now you could look at the biological level to a certain point, but we don't know how it starts. We can't kickstart it. So we can't type in some code on a screen, all of a sudden plants start growing, real plants. There's a whole bunch of things going on behind the scenes which we do not understand. But then on a metaphysical side or a spiritual, mystical side, you could say, well, that's where gods come in, devas come in, spirits come in, because they are the almost the representation of a force or a thing which we can't explain using words and actual physical objects.
It's kind of their representation of abstraction.
Yeah, they are, exactly. They are the personification and anthropomorphizing of an abstraction into something that is okay, well, God of thunder. Thor is God of thunder.
If it's easy to comprehend, then it's all right. Then that's an scenario.
But then,
that's the concept of magic. Back in 1,200 years ago, simple alchemy was considered magic because people didn't understand it.
It was fees.
So as
well, the religious organisations in that time as well.
Well, going back even further, women knowing things was considered witchery.
how dare they?
For female, no.
Sorry, guys. I think we've got we've got some really good ideas, but it's coming up to the end of the program. So, anyone wants to
wrap it up?
No, it's perfectly fine. So, float your mind around this abstraction and its multiple plays, and give yourself a shot. And make yourself churn and get back to us. Maybe write us on the platform we are having open in the different social channels. And
technologies created by
humans. Representation of an abstraction. And it will be great to hear you guys.
You have been listening to the Lunchtime Special Podcast. Subscribe and like us on iTunes, Castbox, Spreaker and SoundCloud. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Or visit us at lunchtimespecialpodcast.com. Until next time.